Welcome to that spiritual, actual, factual answers to questions you're asking. You find them inside you, recite you, reciting the records of cash. We laughing, we drafting the passion to vary. It's time for that comedy, dramedy, all of the fanciest, catchiest acronyms. Listeners, listen, we traveling. Conscious is always unraveling. The reading you're having is mapping you back to your natural habitat. Abracadabra, it's magic, let's passing it. To top it off, the host, all the classiest. Now, what were you asking for? All of the answers? What? All the answers.
So, here we fucking are. God.
Woo.
Do you ever have days where the day starts, but you're not in it yet? And you get to like noon or 1 o'clock and you're like, I'm not ready yet.
I'm not here yet.
Half of the day has happened and I'm still going, wait, the day is happening? I'm barely up.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I feel like that a lot. Well, not a lot, but sometimes I don't like it. I like to be like,
I gotta be honest. Sometimes that happens when I have nothing to do, and that feels weird. And what happened? And sometimes, obviously, that happens when you have too much to do.
Yeah.
Usually, when I'm pretty like tightly scheduled, I'm much more able to execute the day. You know, like, okay, I got to get up, got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. I'm here.
Yeah.
But I feel you.
Yeah. You ever hear that saying, if you need something done, give it to a busy person?
Yeah.
I like that. That's very true for me. Yeah. Like if I'm busy, I can get whatever you throw at me done. But I think you're right. It's like I took the weekend off of like worky things. And then now I'm like, how do you, what?
How do you life?
So I feel like we should catch people up on your crazy thing that happened at the house.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Because we didn't talk about it.
We had what amounts to a break-in, I would say, at least a walk-in. I mean, it's a break-in regardless. We don't know what the status of the door was. You know, people can get around locks sometimes. The upstairs back tenant housemate person had someone come into their place and take like their wallet and their set of keys.
While they were in there sleeping.
While they were in there. They might not even have been sleeping. The creepy part is like they came out to their kitchen to like make coffee. It was like 6 a.m. and the door was open and they're like, that's weird, but it's been really windy. Maybe it, you know, some weird air pocket like popped it open or something.
Yeah.
That's what you think at 6 a.m. You don't think, you know, like you haven't arrived into your body yet.
Yeah.
And then he heard his car go beep, beep, you know, like someone was hitting the fob and he popped to and like ran outside, and whoever it was heard him coming and ran off without taking his car, without stealing his car.
So nutty.
So crazy. But as a result, he had all of our keys, all of his keys, and the fob on that key. So now our house is completely porous, right? So he called, he found a locksmith and we got him out there. And it's actually remarkably painless to get all the locks changed.
Oh,
easy.
Well, that's great.
Not crazy expensive. I was very happy with like, the guy was really nice and really efficient and great. Got it done. Rekeyed his fob or whatever it's called. Reprogrammed the fob that he still had. So now that guy can't use it on his car and come back and steal it.
Thank God. How did he do that? How do you rekey a fob?
Well, because the fobs don't have a key on it, right? So it doesn't actually go into it's all numbers. So you do something where you know, the locksmiths have like special dispensation to use these programs, right? It's like you have to go through all kinds of clearances to be allowed access to this sort of technology. And then he literally just takes the fob, I don't know, turns the car on and then tells the car, I'm reprogramming you to a different frequency.
I'm just asking, the locksmith did this?
Yeah.
The locksmith to your house?
Yeah. He has another guy, but it's a guy who works for him. The guy had like a really strong Eastern European accent. It was great. It's like, I will do your key now. Give key to me.
Locksmiths in general can refob your fob to your car.
Apparently.
I did not know that.
I'm not saying this like, duh, didn't you know?
No, I didn't think you were. No, I just didn't know. I'm learning. I'm trying to track it while you're saying it. That's why I'm interrupting to understand.
So apparently they're able to do that too. So
can I just say, the way you're sitting and the shirt you're wearing, it looks like you have one breast on the right side. You have a woman's breast.
Just a single one. Yeah. I'm wearing I thought about that when I put this shirt on. It's a quilted shirt. inside. So it's like very thick because it's not warm here.
Got you.
And then I looked at it and I was like, I look like I have boobs in this.
Can you explain something to me too? Which, and also for the listener, he just fixed his boob. I support you having boobs if that's what you choose for your life.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you looked like you had so much of a breast that it was like, I can't even hear the words you're saying. You have breasts now. What happened?
My eyes are up here. Katie, my eyes are up here.
Focus on the eyes. My bad. I'm so gross. Here's my next question for you. First of all, I'm so sorry that happened. We did this conversation ourselves. So on air.
And I just checked in with him yesterday just to be like, are you okay? Like, that's the thing that we didn't do because we all kicked into deal with it mode instead of like, oh, we just were violated, you know?
How was your feelings? Yeah, totally.
I think he's okay. We're definitely in a mode of there's fences between yards, all like the four square of all of our yards, people behind me, next to her, and my next door neighbor and me. Like there's porous ways to get into our backyards.
Okay.
From each other's yards. And so everybody is now talking about more plugging up those gaps.
Yeah. You can plug my gap, baby.
Yes. And that brings you to, what were you going to ask me?
Is there actually freezing rain falling from the sky, like in the form of sleet in California? Because my friend in Roseville near Sacramento posted a picture of legit sleet falling from the sky into her patio.
I did not see sleet here. It actually, I mean, it's been pretty cold and really raining quite a lot, significantly a lot, like flooding a lot.
Which is good, right? Isn't it?
Well, it's the rate at which it's happening.
Yeah.
And like trees are falling because of you soak the ground and then blow the wind. If you soak the ground and blow the wind, root balls come unearthed and entire huge ash trees fall on houses.
You know what I think that's an example of, Cassidy?
What?
When it rains, it pours. It's literally that thing happening.
Exactly. It is pouring. But then like yesterday was clear and sunny. And we went to Alameda and did things. And that was nice. Alameda. We played mini golf.
I've been missing California so much. Missing it.
Well,
Yeah.
right now, you probably don't need to miss it.
Why?
The rain is really intense. It's like a tropical storm level for some people.
Yeah.
Like the canopy over a gas station blew over, you know, the thing that goes over like the gas pumps.
Yeah.
There's like a picture of one that just fell completely over.
Huh.
It's very exciting.
That's like a Thursday in Florida. So
that's what I was going to say. It's like, okay, you got some wind.
Wind. Yeah, no, but I get it. It's scary when it's happening. Okay, I'm going to say a cocky wizard thing for a second that some people would judge me for. And some people will totally understand. I changed the weather the other day.
Okay.
I think I've shared on here. Let's get woo-woo.
Woo!
That's how we are. I've shared before. Tell me if I've shared this before, how in every healing session I do, when it's a private session or a class, the weather changes dramatically. Have we talked about this?
I don't think you have.
Really?
I don't recall that. I don't always listen.
Oh my God. The truth is finally stated. The thing I know is happening has been owned.
However, I do listen to our show. So,
Oh, wait, then what don't you listen to? Me while we're talking?
That was the joke.
All right. So this is a thing known to people like myself. I had a friend who also does this work, and we would talk about it all the time because there was no one else on earth we felt comfortable talking to about it because it sounds fully insane. But what happened for me, God, I swear I talked about this on here. Anyway, forgive me if I'm repeating myself. Yeah.
It's also been 3 years and I might have forgotten.
Fair enough. So I don't know, hundreds of healing sessions in at this point, there came a point, I don't know, maybe 100 sessions in where I was like, it's so weird. Every time the client has a breakthrough and the energy changes, right then the clouds part and the sun comes out, or the wind stops and it gets still, or the wind picks up and it becomes sunny. Like some big shift happens in the weather. So at first I was, of course, as skeptical as anyone would be hearing that sentence and just was like, all right, I'm just making a correlation where there isn't I'm just making one in my mind. But then after 700 more sessions, it happens literally every single time. I was like, all right, well, the weather changes. Fine. You know, I don't feel like Katie Rubin changes the weather. I feel like consciousness changes the weather but we're working with consciousness, meaning, okay, I had a teacher who used to say, who still says, I just don't work with him anymore, but he said, when one person literally unclogs one piece of trauma, it ripples into the world and has an effect on 350,000 more people.
Okay.
Which is like a very specific number. And we all thought that was goofy. And we'd be like, that's what?
Yeah.
But he was like, look, I talk to consciousness too, and it tells me stuff. And it tells me that each little piece you clear affects 350,000 people at least. Like that's how interconnected we are. That's how much oneness there is. That's how real heart connection is between human beings. We are a social animal and we are interconnected on a spiritual level.
Does that, I just want to clarify on that. Does that also apply to like self-change? Not just like when you heal someone's, but if someone's like doing some inner work through their own meditation,
yes,
and they clear a thing for themselves, that also affects 350,000. Okay.
Because if you think about how, there's so much I could say on this topic. I'm looking at which way to go. So I'll finish that train and we'll come back to a couple side trains. So when the weather thing started to become very obvious to me, I started to ask a bunch of questions about it. And what they give me is this idea that like when you call on the divine light, you know how I always talk about it's like a fire hose of light when we do this kind of work?
Yeah.
It's like a fire hose of light. It's not like little Reiki or like a little prayer. It's like huge amounts of light are coming through. And the reason I believe that happens with me is that part of my purpose is to help people with things that need that fire hose. There's a lot of things in life that don't need that fire hose, but when people need a fire hose of light, I have that.
Yeah.
So when the fire hose dissolves something, it dissolves it multidimensionally in every direction. And that's a big shift in consciousness, in the consciousness of the collective of humans.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not surprising the weather would change.
Right.
I know that saying this sentence could make me sound like an egomaniac, a sociopath, a crazy person. I really know. And this is why I don't talk about this very much, except for with other people who go through it. My friend Erin Reese and I used to talk about this all the time. She'd be like, fucking, I was at Starbucks and I changed this guy's mood accidentally. I was just being nice to him and his mood changed and the fucking thunderstorm stopped and the sun came out and everybody was happy. And I was like, girl, I was at Target. And I mean, we had all the time. Anyway, so I'm not surprised anymore. However, this one got me. And I have other friends that are my friend Gail, who runs my OMA Pittsburgh class with her friend John. By the way, if you need an affordable energy healing class, we start this Wednesday, January 11th. This will come out after that, but you can join us a week late. omapittsburgh.org. Click on events, click on Waking the Sleepers. Okay. One time I was caught in a weather system on a drive and I was texting with her out of terror because it wasn't the terrible lightning day, but it was a different day. And she said, give me a second. I'm going to move it for you. And she changed the weather and it stopped. And I was like, thank you. I'm going to go real fast. Boom. And I drove through it and she was like, you got it. And then I drove through it, looked behind me in my car and it was coming back together.
Wow.
The system. Okay. So the people in my world like do this, like this is a thing. Okay. But I haven't ever experienced it as directly as I did the other day. So in terms of like, in my own life, the weather is scaring me. I'm going to change it now, or I'm going to ask consciousness to change it. Uh-huh. And it worked. Like that was really cool. I've watched it happen secondhand from doing a healing session with someone 60 zillion times, but doing it like this was cool. So I was in this closet doing work. I can't remember what I was doing. And all of a sudden there was a tropical storm. This is fucking Florida. And I looked at my radar and it was like, for the next 12 hours, there will be a tropical storm sitting on top of you and your house. And it was the red, you know how it's like red, orange, yellow, green. It was all red forever. And I was like, I have to get to rehearsal and I'm going to be too terrified to drive in red. So I went deep inside and I was like, I need this rehearsal. I got to get through these songs. They need me there. This matters. I don't want to just say I can't come because it's raining. Please. And I prayed and I did my thing. And I'm telling you, first of all, the rain stopped. It was predicted for 12 hours. The rain stopped. I watched the radar go red, orange, yellow, green, nothing. And then it just went away. And then my radar was like, rainfall predicted 12 hours from now, but it'll be a light drizzle. And I was like, what? And it just worked. Now, I want to say this. There have been times where I've tried to do that and it hasn't worked, where I've tried like, hey, we change the weather all the time in a session. Could you change it now? and it doesn't work. I kind of think that the reason it worked this time was because it mattered a lot. I was really like invested and very like, hey, I really need this to change and I'm really scared. Will you please help? So now that happened, I'm like very encouraged to see if I could do it more. And again, in other situations, like, could I help California out? Like, could I help?
All right.
And
Could
again,
you bring rain? Because we need it.
Yes, it's not, again, I want to be clear for people listening. It's not I have the power to change the weather. It's I have a strong connection with consciousness and it changes the weather. But I'm not in charge, apparently, of which times it listens, or I haven't figured out the mechanics yet of why it was this time. It might just be, again, my commitment and my emotional, like, I really need this. And I did really need it. Anyway, there you have that.
Or, I mean, also, what do we know? But it's not necessarily like, do you believe enough? But does consciousness goes, yeah, you don't really need it.
Right. Like, how do I need it? Do
Or,
I need it?
Actually, what that would do would be counter to something else that is needed. So, nah.
Correct. Right. Maybe it was correct. It was okay. It wasn't going to fuck with anything.
In that moment, it was like, yeah, that's fine.
Sure.
Oh, I was just doing this. I was just blowing off some steam, and I can do that later.
Anyway, that's a thing that happened.
Nice.
My life is weird.
Your life is weird. What else? I don't think there's anything else at this end. Things are pretty chill. It's raining a lot. Things are happening. My house is holding together, which makes me happy, except for that we were, robbed a little bit, very lightly robbed, like a wallet, basically, and a set of keys.
Yeah, but it's not about what they took. It's about that.
No, it's the violation.
Yeah, and they could have had a bazooka with them to take that wallet, That's
the thing. It's like, we don't know, man, just.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then one of the neighbors said they saw somebody in like a red hoodie hopping over a fence at around that time. So it's clearly the same person, like, ugh.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That reminds me. Last night I had a scary thing like that where my upstairs neighbors in this new building, Cassidy, they got into a knockdown, drag out, screaming fight. We have security guards in this building and there's a phone number you can call if people are like for a noise complaint and they show up and go like, hey, you're being too loud. And then people stop being too loud. Weirdly, earlier in the night, my upstairs buddy had texted me, do you hear those people across the way? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm going to call in because it's 10 o'clock at night and they're just like high and yelling and it's reverberating through the whole. And I was like, fair enough. And so we both actually called. And then the noise stopped, which was great. That was the end of that story, I thought. Well, cut to 3 a.m. I'm dead asleep. Sounds like furniture is being dragged across miles of a ceiling above me. Furniture, dragging furniture. And then screaming, fuck you, I told you to leave me alone. Knockdown, drag out. Top of the lungs.
Yeah.
Pound, also thud, like walking, pounding. And I was like, what is happening? And the screaming was so violent. I was like, if this person has a gun and they shoot down,
yeah,
I'm dead. Like it could hit me. We could die now.
Right.
So I called the place again. I've never used this phone number before, but I was like, hi, it's me again. I called earlier, but there's a very big screaming fight happening above me and I have to sleep. And it's 3 a.m. and help. And he was like, we will send someone. But if you think there's a fight happening, you need to call the police. And I was like, but you'll come? And they were like, we will, but you should call the police if there's a fight.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I kind of didn't understand why they were very insistent about that.
Yeah. Like, shouldn't you guys call the police? But they can't witness it. So if they need you to call the police because you're the one witnessing the thing, because by the time they arrive, it's not happening because they knock on the door and they don't hear a fight. I guess. I don't know. Fuck.
I don't know either. Anyway, so it lasted an hour and then it stopped and I got to sleep. But like if I were someone who had to get up at 6 a.m., that would have fucked my day.
Yeah. And also, did they not send someone right away, I guess?
I mean, I think they sent someone, but I don't know. I mean, I called them about 20 minutes into the hour. They probably came 20 minutes later. And then I don't know. I really don't know. But now I'm sort of like, if this is going to be a thing, because I've heard them upstairs before, but they've never done it past 10 o'clock. And I've been like, I don't care.
Yeah.
But if you're going to 3 a.m. it, I got to like talk to the lady who runs the building and I don't know what I have to do.
Right.
But I have to do something because I can't.
Yeah.
That can't happen.
Yeah. That's scary.
But then like, how can I say that can't happen? But like,
what do you do about it? Right.
I don't have control over. People are going to fight, It's just like, I guess the best we could do is let them know that that people are hearing it. And then maybe that makes them make a different choice.
Right. I guess. I mean, yeah, I don't know what.
Or not.
Or
they don't change it at all and I'm going to be fucked.
I mean, there's probably a thing where like, if security is called on you 5 times, we have the right to evict you or some shit like that.
Right. That's a good point.
I don't know. It's probably in your agreement
I'll look
that you
into
signed.
that. Yeah, I'll look into that. I have to talk to them basically and like don't want to, but have to.
The management or the people?
Yeah, the management. Like I'm going to talk to them first and be like, what do you recommend? Can you help me? What can we do here?
Yeah.
Because I was already going to be like, hey, so nice to meet you. I live below you. Here's a nice friendly letter just letting you know that when you wear heels, I hear every step you take. So if you do that after 10, it's going to keep me up and then I can't work. And I'm sure you didn't know. And I'm just letting you know and have a great day. And here's a chocolate, like just nice and letting you know stuff.
Yeah.
But now that this happened, I'm sort of like, fuck, how do I even approach the converse? So I feel like I'm going to talk to my lady Siobhan, she's the building manager or something. And see, there's got to be a protocol. I'm sure there's a protocol.
I hate that shit.
Knowing this building, I'm sure they have a system in place where she's like, call this people, write an email. We're going to email them, something like that. But we'll see what happens.
One time, wait, I want to tell you a similar story just because it's that powerless, what do I do energy. Yeah. When I was in Paris with the theater tour thing that I was doing, right, like in 2017, maybe, they have us staying in these pretty nice flats. And I was staying in the one that only had 3 of us. And then there was another flat that had like the rest of the cast and crew, a ton of people in a totally different building, totally different part of town. So it was me and 2 other people in my flat. And the way flats are throughout Paris is there's a huge courtyard usually behind a really heavy door. And then the flats are all inside the courtyard, around the courtyard. And I woke up to some yelling that was repeated, and unfortunately it's in French, but the person is repeating a phrase. And what it sounds like to me is she's saying, he has a gun, but it's in French.
Oh, fucking hell.
It's probably like, Izako. I don't know. It's maybe a totally different phrase. Right. But it's this sort of repeated wail. And I'm, like looking out my window in the court, and it's like, I think it's coming from across and over. And I'm waiting for someone else who fucking speaks French and knows how to call the police in Paris and all those things to turn their light on, because I am powerless. I'm a stranger in a strange land. I know nothing. I don't speak the language. I don't even know what number you would dial. And I'm just sitting there kind of paralyzed going, I should be doing something. What's happening? Yeah. And it gets worse. And then I think I see some other lights come on, and like one person like kind of put their head out. So I'm like, okay, one of them will do something, I hope. And then I see a guy literally dragging a woman by the arm across the courtyard, like towards the exit. Whoa. It gets better. It ends well. I'm just going to let you know. Probably not well. But as he opens the big heavy door to the outside. Yeah. I see blue flashing lights on the ground coming through the door, meaning police are right outside the heavy door. That's the last I got to hear of it, because they were outside now, and I was all the way across the courtyard inside my apartment. So you don't know what happened, really? I don't know what happened, but I do know that like he didn't manage to abduct the young woman or whatever was happening, whatever bad situation was happening. In that context, I was very happy that the police existed. It was like, yeah, I saw the blue flashing light, and it was a trip just to know that was at the signal. Like as soon as the door opened, I could see police lights coming through that big, heavy courtyard door. And I was like, well, this is out of my hands now. And it's not my problem. But having no idea what to do. So scary. That reminds me of, that's terrifying. I had a boyfriend in college who was traveling in Europe. I can't remember which country. This story gives me so much anxiety. And he was in a hotel. Oh, do tell it. Yeah, I know. Let's jack up everybody's anxiety. He was in a hotel with his brother in a country where they didn't speak the language. Somebody started pounding on their hotel door. It's happened to me. Yeah.
really? And then
Yeah, go on.
broke the door.
Oh, that didn't happen.
Broke the door open, came in and held them hostage in the room. And was like yelling stuff in a different language. And they had no idea what was happening. They closed the door behind them, barred it shut so they couldn't get out. They were on the couch just like, what do you want? Here's our money. Take whatever you want. Like, it's fine. To go away. Take our money. What do you need? Couldn't figure out what was going on. Finally, they realized they had the wrong guys, but it wasn't for like an hour. So my boyfriend and his brother were like held hostage in this hotel room because these bad guys thought that like they had their cocaine or whatever it was. Finally, they were like, oh shit, I guess it's not them, and just left. And then my boyfriend and his brother were like totally shell-shocked and terrified, got their shit and just like went into the dark of night to get a new hotel.
What the fuck?
I know. I wish I could remember which country it was. I want to say Germany. I might be.
That's a movie.
Yeah, it was fucked up. It was fucked up.
Jesus. Okay.
Good stuff.
Abrupt change of pace. Hey, we're all here today to say that we're okay. We survived.
All right. So we have a grab bag of questions, some old, some new.
Yeah, I think we'll actually turns out I was just looking through them again. I think really I'm just going to ask 2 old questions and then we have 2 new questions.
Okay, great. Now, are the first, is it 4 different people, one person?
It is 4 different people. The first one is the person we were talking about earlier. We've heard from her a bit and she's a super fan, as it were. And but it's a funny question, so I just thought I'd ask it.
Okay. So I need to get into this person's records?
Yes, you do.
Okay. All right, give me a second here.
Do you want to hear the question first?
Sure.
Because it's really more a general question. It's not for her. And then you can be like, I don't even want to answer that question. Or you might be like, yeah, let's get into that shit.
All right, go for it.
Okay, so I'm going to read you the email. Yeah, and if we decide not to do it, we could just cut this whole thing out. I have a saucy question for the records, and I believe it's a question that only the records might be able to answer. I don't know that science has been able to, wants to research it yet, but I'm certainly not the only one who's curious about this. I know it's an often avoided topic. My question is there any correlation between the defined centers versus open centers in human design and females who are able to experience the orgasm that is referred to as squirting? And if it's not the human design centers, is there something that does seem to explain how and why some women seem to be able to and others cannot?
Okay, that's cool. I get a yes on that thing. Like, yes, there's a thing that explains that. And we can look into I would open the records on that.
Okay. Do we need to open her records or just it seems like more of a consciousness question?
Yeah, I'll figure that out. What's the next question? Just so maybe we can hear them all and then figure out how we're going to approach this.
Love it. Okay. This is from, this was an interesting one. This is from a woman named Carly. For my whole life, I have had nausea and vomiting phobia. So we have a theme going here, things coming out of the body. At times it has been crippling and other times not so much, but it has always been there. I'd love to know what the record keepers say about this and how can I hopefully move through it?
All right, that one, I want to open that person's records.
For sure. And then we have 2 new questions. This is from a listener named. She would love to ask an anonymous question about bringing love into my life. This is a very common question we get quite often. You're lucky. Today we're in a question answering mode. In the present moment, what is holding me back from having an intimate relationship with a man? What steps should I take to move forward?
Okay.
For sure. And then finally, from a listener named Charlie. I don't even know if I've read this one. It just came in. Number 1, someone was talking about twin flames the other day. What are they? Does everyone have one? Do I have one? I've heard that concept before.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. We'll go in their records about that.
Great. 2, consciousness/oneness. This is the second question he gives. I've been led to believe that it's like the ocean and we are all waves of the ocean, all connected in consciousness with the waves being our individual self. Ego is separation from self. That's all I think I know. Is there group collective ego? Group/collective ego? Is ego the yin to the yang of consciousness?
Huh.
Is it like an ocean with all individual egos as waves? And is it like consciousness in that it is aware of itself? I guess what is ego really? So we're going from small to broad.
Yeah, we have talked about this actually in previous episodes. I wish I could say which episode to refer them to. but I'm happy to get into the records of consciousness and respond again. That's fine. So it sounds like the first one and that one, we should just talk to consciousness directly.
Mm-hmm.
And the middle two, we can go into those people's records.
Cool.
So do you want to start with consciousness or the people?
I think we should start with the sort of more narrow ones. Let's do people first. Let's do narrow, specific questions. Although the squirting one, I kind of want to just do that one because it seems like a fun way to slide into things.
Yeah, totally.
I think we should actually just do them in the order we read them.
Okay.
So it's going to be consciousness, person, consciousness.
Consciousness. Let's do the consciousness and consciousness together.
Okay.
So we'll go 1, 4, 2, 3.
Ooh, yes, math.
Hey, what's up? Rami here. In the last few episodes that I've listened to before recording this Rami's Rules, it will air a bit later. I have heard a few episodes recently in which Katie's pulled cards for the group, and it's interesting. I don't really connect to card pulls for the group, for the collective, for a group of people. I also don't really connect to, like a weekly horoscope or forecast for the group or everyone in my sign. Like the way that my brain works, I don't naturally hear the metaphor or the general statement and then connect it to personal specific ideas for myself. I kind of just hear the description of the card and then I kind of go, huh, all right. So I kind of think I'm missing out. That's a COVID cough. I kind of feel like I'm missing out on that particular wisdom, but there it is. Rami's Rules.
So we're starting with consciousness?
I guess so. Yeah, let's do it.
So we're going to open the Akashic Records of Consciousness, which is really a fancy way of saying I'm going to expand my awareness. All right, so we'll take a few deep breaths if you're listening. Let's expand your consciousness as well. Just breathe into that low belly. And as we breathe into the low belly, we come into contact with our feelings a bit more intimately. And we understand our feelings to be a portal for spirit. The way spirit and the form can interact is through the feelings. That's why they're so important. Feeling our feet on the ground, seeing a little spinning foot chakra open at the bottom center of each foot. Watching 500 tree roots of light extend into the earth through the open window of each foot. So 1,000 tree roots of light in total extending through the open windows of our feet. Hundreds of miles down and into the earth, down and in and down and in, left and right, forward and back, and straight down. And as those roots anchor in, we see ourselves from the feet up as huge, vast, powerful, potent trees of conscious light. I mean, our trunks being so wide and so deep, we can't even see their edges. So tall that we know the branches and the abundant bushy leaves are up there, but they're far away, very tall, infinitely stretching into the cosmos, receiving a lot of information from a lot of different directions. And so we do acknowledge the forces of light, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. Holy Spirit of divine light, protect me from all forms of self-centeredness and direct my attention to the work at hand. Help me to know consciousness in the light of the Akashic Records. Help me to see consciousness through the eyes of the Lords of the Records. And enable me, please, to share the wisdom and compassion that the masters, teachers, and loved ones of consciousness have for consciousness. All right, as I'm connecting here with the Akashic Records of Consciousness, I'm asking to be expanded, to have my receptivity open, that I can receive the vast fields of awareness from the conscious realm. It's funny because the first thing they start talking about, it's sort of like the notion that there would be a records to consciousness is both funny and true at the same time, because consciousness is just, you could think of it like the sea of awareness. It's just like an endless field of awareness. So there's no past and there's no future, so there's no records. And yet, for the human mind, metaphorically speaking, of course there's a records, because consciousness has a consciousness, right? Consciousness is conscious. So there is a history to consciousness. See what I mean? Like, it's everything all the time, all at once, like the film. And it's there, things have occurred in consciousness in the past and in the future and in the now, and it's all kind of co-concurrent. So there both is a records of consciousness and not. So that, and what is the question?
This is the saucy question about squirting. What is it? Basically, is there a design or spiritual dimension to why some women squirt and some don't?
Okay, so first of all, does it have to do with open centers or defined? No. Does it have to do with some spiritual element? No. Is it a mechanical issue? Yes. Does it have to do with how certain physical bodies are made? Yes. Okay, so this is just like the way, the shape of the cervix, vulva, clitoris, urethra, the shape of it all. And it's like a plumbing issue, not issue, but a plumbing element. So
a plumbing difference.
Yeah, it's a plumbing, you could say oddity, or, what's that word? Anomaly or difference, or there's a specific word. I can't think of it. Anyway. Does it have a spiritual dimension at all? No.
Like, why do some people have that plumbing difference? Is there any thing to know?
Okay. So they show me a tree with roots in the earth. One tree has one root that is gnarled and forms a knob. The tree to its left has simply straight roots down and in. The tree to its left has roots that go to the left sharply at an angle. This is just the mystery of the dynamism and the complexity of every possibility coming into form. So it's funny because the movie is relevant. Everything, everywhere, all at once. The film talks about...
Some people have sausage fingers.
Exactly. The film talks about dimensionalities where all kinds of wacky potentialities could exist. In the realm of consciousness, there is no judgment and there's no limit to what is possible. So why wouldn't there be some women who squirt whatever out of their vaginas because of the way their plumbing is? Why wouldn't there be? In other words, it's not special in some significant way. It's just her plumbing does that. It gets fetishized in your reality because anything slightly different from the hegemonic normalcy of the majority of humans gets fetishized by some people. Because if it's judgeable, then it can be fetishizable. Fetishes are born of, there's a judgment of something as being right or wrong. And because the pain of the judgment is so harsh, we become, as human animals, fixated on it and fetishize it because we need to make it not wrong. Something is happening within us as human beings that has been made wrong. So the way to make it not wrong is make it super sexy. And then it's not wrong. It's just a fetish. That's one way that some humans...
And then the people who can't do it are now wrong. And then we have to go back and look at that.
Correct. So the real idea would be, if you cared to do such a thing, to dissolve your perception, to shift your perception that there was ever anything wrong about it. And then there would be no need for the fetish. However, are you allowed to have a fetish? Of course. That's just another occurrence in consciousness. And you do you, as you say, or not. And so it is. Okay.
I love it. I think we got a pretty clear thing on that. Anything else coming through?
No. What's the last one?
All right, now we go big. We go big and deep. And you already touched on it because you talked about the sea. We'll talk about consciousness, oneness. Been led to believe that... Well, basically, what is the question? The question is...
Can you just read it again?
I've been led to believe that it's like that consciousness and oneness is like the ocean, and we are all waves of the ocean, all connected in consciousness, with the waves being our individual self.
Okay, let's pause there. I know there's more, but they already give me information about this. So they're going, no, you're not waves in the ocean. So let me just sit with that. I don't know what that means yet. So how would you frame it? It's more like this. The metaphor makes sense. It makes sense that this metaphor would have been created because you live in a 3-dimensional reality. And so you're looking for a 3-dimensional metaphor that is a bit more expansive than what you experience through the density of form. So water is the metaphor here. The sea, the water, the movement is a bit less dense than your body moving through space, right? Your body is not very fluid. So a more fluid metaphor or more expansive metaphor is to look at the ocean as a metaphor. But this creates a limitation as well. In the realm of consciousness, it's more correct to say consciousness, think of consciousness like space. It has no density. It has no form. So it's... but it's aware of every possibility. And it understands that form is a fun thing to play with. So it goes, let's put this into form, or like one thing that can be born from the vast field of infinite possibility is you as an ego. So blip, there you come onto the field of consciousness. In a space, you could say, like Earth, like planet Earth. That's a space or a place or a time, because those are actually co-concurrent. Your individuated ego is, think of it like the hot dog fingers in the scene in the movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Hot dog fingers are a funny notion. Consciousness has a sense of humor. So you are a funny notion. Consciousness had a sense of humor and said, let's make a you. Now, if a you, whoever, what's the person's name who wrote in?
Charlie.
So if a Charlie, such as yourself, it comes into form, and that, let's say that Charlie wants to understand consciousness in relationship to itself and its ego, it would be useful for the ego of Charlie to understand that the ego is a limitation. The ego is not the vast field of consciousness. The ego is just one expression of that consciousness. So consciousness is the space of infinite possibility from which everything arises. You are one tiny option that has arisen. So there is a paradox at play, which is to say, by the way, are we sure this is a male person named Charlie? Because I have a student who is female, whose name is Charlie.
I'm looking. The last name is Robinson.
Yes, this is a female. I know this person. Okay, so that is the answer to the first part of this question. Consciousness is a field of space, infinite, formless, conscious awareness of infinite possibility. You are one incarnation in form of one idea it had, just because it can, okay? So then, as opposed to being a wave in the ocean, that creates a limitation in what's possible. You see how an ocean is more limited than a field of space? Does that make sense, Cassidy, to you?
Yes.
Okay, what's the rest of the question?
As she says, ego is separation from self. That's all I think I know. Is there group/collective ego?
Okay, let's pause there. There's 18 things here. Okay, so number 1, ego is separation from self. And they say no. Let me just listen. So ego is separation from the other. Your ego creates an individuated you, which makes you different from, say, me. So you and I are two different beings. Our ego makes that possible. So the ways that you and I cannot connect, misunderstand each other, judge each other, and have separation between one another happens because of the ego. However, the ego is also that which allows you to choose which t-shirt to wear today, know which job is going to be satisfying for you, find the correct person to date. It's what gives you your needs, your preferences, your feelings, your values. So the ego is both problematic and helpful. So the ego creates separation from the other. It can create, within the self, the separation the ego creates is between the self and consciousness. Does that make sense? So it's not a separation from self. It's self separating from consciousness because of ego. All right. And so then what was the second part of that?
And is there group/collective ego?
Yes, absolutely. End of sentence. But let me get more on that. Yes. So your collective ego. Okay. So you have tribes in this world, right? Some of your tribes, one tribe on this planet's collective ego says Donald Trump has all the answers, because the way that he separates from the other people is the right way. And therefore, that is what everyone should do, because he is right. That is the ego of the collective of the tribe of Trump followers. Similarly, you have the tribe of far-leaning leftists who say collectivism is superior always. That is the ego of the tribe of the far-leaning leftists. So any idea that a tribe attaches to and makes right is the ego of that tribe. Are there points of view that are made right or wrong by the entire collective of the planet? Yes. Murdering babies. Wrong. Don't do it unless you're like from a tribe of people that sacrifice babies and throw them into volcanoes. And then
right. I think it could be argued that that's not universal. Correct.
Okay. Does that make sense? Now, let's say this point to be clear. Here we are again at paradox, because it is useful when one is trying to get one's needs met to have preferences about what one is okay with and what one is not okay with, right? You have to say, I don't want to date someone who makes no money and is mean to his kids. You have to have preferences and an ego to say that. You have to. Otherwise, you just don't care. Otherwise, you would just be the vast field of conscious awareness, choosing whatever or not. Now, this is where we do get back to human design. Different people, depending on how many open centers they may have and how many defined blah, blah, blahs, whatever, channels, gates, are going to have more or less flexibility about what their preferences are. That doesn't mean they have no preferences. It means they have more flexibility in their preferences. Okay, somebody with a lot of definition in their design has very fixed, rigid preferences. That doesn't mean that's better, nor is it worse. It's just they want only pecan pie. Whereas someone with a lot of open centers might be like, I'll eat 10 kinds of pie. I like them all. Now, that doesn't mean they would marry all kinds of pie, but it might mean they would marry all kinds of pie. It depends on the individual and the circumstance. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Okay. So, sorry, what was the question there that was a response to?
Just, is there group or collective ego?
Oh, yeah. And we did that. Okay. What else?
Is ego the yin to the yang consciousness?
Is ego the yin to the yang of consciousness?
It just says to the yang consciousness.
I think it means of. Okay, so is ego the yin to the yang of consciousness? So they give me a no. They would frame it differently. Again, like I just would say that metaphor doesn't work. No, re-listen to everything I just said and it answers your question.
They're not counter to each other. They're subsets within.
Yeah.
Ego exists inside of consciousness. Consciousness encompasses the concept of ego. Is it like consciousness in that it is aware of itself?
Ego?
No. Oh, maybe that's the question. And is ego like consciousness in that it is aware of itself?
That is a no. Ego is not aware of itself. Consciousness, this is a good question. Let's stay with this for a second. Consciousness is infinite awareness. When you have an awareness of what your ego is doing, you're doing that from conscious space. So an example would be, I, Katie Rubin, the individuated me, recognize from the space of consciousness that my ego continues to choose espresso when it makes my body cough and hurt and have a hard time. That consciously, I'm aware that that is an ego choice that I continue to make.
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah.
But ego just says, no, I have to have coffee. It has no consciousness. It just wants what it wants, and that's all there is. So this is a great question, because this is why it's so hard for people to change. Because functioning from the field of consciousness is very, very, very different from how most people are functioning. Most people on Earth are functioning from their ego. And they're just going, I want this, I want that, I do this, I do that, and back off if you disagree. Consciousness has a much broader perspective. Here's another example they want me to talk about. Oh boy, how do I get into that? That's a huge thing. I'm just listening for a second here. Okay, all right, here's an example. Oh, fuck me. This is big. Fucking hell.
Buckle in.
All right, somebody said to some individuated human, said to the individuated human of Katie Rubin this weekend, that they had participated. I'm just going to do the details and keep the names anonymous. It's because it's not condemning in any way. So let's call this person Francis. Francis said to me this weekend, I have a Fitbit on my wrist, and I gave it to my stepson to wear all day because he runs around a lot, so that I could get more steps in and beat my friend in a contest of step getting. Okay. So the stepson, who's like 13 or 10 or something, says to this adult woman, that's fucked up because you lied, you cheated. And the woman said, the adult to the child, oh, calm down. What's the big deal? It's just a game. It doesn't matter. Now, this woman was saying this to me, and the energy in the room was I was to agree with her.
Right.
Because I was to say, oh, he's overreacting. At least you won, right? Ha 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 ha. What a funny choice you made. The intention in the room was you do the funniest thing.
Right.
The funniest thing is cheat and make your kid wear the thing. It is funnier. It is a funnier choice.
It's a cute idea.
Yeah, it's a funny notion that you won in that way.
Yeah.
However, I have a hard time at this point. I don't want to do the funniest thing in all situations. I want to do the funniest thing on the stage during an improv show. But I don't want to do the funniest thing when it comes to how I'm behaving in my relationships with my friends, even if it's just, quote, quote, a game. Why? Because here's why. When a human being chooses from a higher consciousness, so for example, let's say, so what I said in the moment was, well, I'm a little bit in the camp of your stepson where I would not do that because I would feel bad about it because it was a lie to your friend. Now, I said to her, did you tell her you had done that? In which case you both could enjoy the humor of it? And she said, no, because I wanted to win.
Yeah, that would have been my tweak. It's a joke on that person as opposed to with that person. With
that person, correct. So she said, no, I didn't do that. I just wanted to win. And I said, well, see, to me, that's a manipulation I'm not comfortable with because what I'm looking for is to function from the space of conscious awareness of the impacts of my choices. Now that has an impact on her, and she believes that a certain thing occurred that didn't occur because you misrepresented reality. Now, what consciousness has to say about this is, let me get this. The more choices a human being makes from lower frequency levels of consciousness, manipulation, control, dominance, like this example, the more you become that frequency, which is fine. You have that choice. But the question is, what is the outcome of being that frequency? What is your life like? And what is the life of the people around you like when you're making choices from that space?
Yeah.
I don't remember how this relates to the question at hand.
The question that we were looking at in that moment was, oh yeah, I think you'd already answered the question. This was just a continuation. Is ego aware of itself like consciousness is? And we said no.
Okay, great. So then this is a perfect example of that. Meaning, this person didn't really have an interest in a higher consciousness. This person had an interest in making the funniest, most self-serving choice.
Which feeds the ego.
Which feeds the ego, correct. Which is delightful for her. And it is delightful. It's kind of fun and great to win.
Yeah.
And to,
it's a funny idea because the steps thing is stupid anyway.
Well, that depends on your perspective.
That's my judgmental.
Yeah. But I mean, if it is useless to you, then it's useless to you. But to her, the steps thing isn't useless, which makes her choice to do that not the highest frequency choice. Now, is that bad and wrong? That depends on your perspective. It depends on what you're going for in reality. Somebody who's looking to make choices from the realm of consciousness and an awareness of what our choices create in the future probably wouldn't make that choice.
Right.
C'est la vie.
C'est la vie. Charlie also just asked to talk about twin flames.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Twin flames.
Does everyone have one? Do I have one? What are they?
No, everyone does not have one. Does Charlie have one? No. Is it a real thing? Yes. All right. Let's talk about this. This is so important because boy, do spiritual people misunderstand the fuck out of this. Okay. Consciousness. I'm going to go ahead and what words would you say to humanity about what are twin flames? What is their purpose? Okay, okay, I'm going to ask a few more questions out loud that I'm asking internally. So, are twin flames, when it occurs in three-dimensional, in one lifetime, so I'm living a life and I meet my twin flame, is that necessarily a romantic connection? Yes. Okay. Is that different from the thing that a lot of spiritual people call a twin flame that isn't? Yes, because, okay, let's talk about this. If you meet a person and you're deeply connected and there's this powerful connection and you can't avoid each other and it's incredible and amazing, and then it goes to absolute feces, it goes 180 degrees the other direction. You drive each other insane. You can't stand being around each other, but the pull to be together is so strong that you can't let go. That is not twin flamery. That is karma. That is someone who is showing up in your reality to teach you a thing, to complete a karmic process of some kind, to show you how to work through a specific something. If it's fraught and complicated and all fucking crazy, I'm so in love and I can't let go of it, but it's awful and it doesn't work and we fight and he misunderstands me and we just, not twin flames. Spiritual people love to blame the reason they're not leaving a karmically induced codependent enmeshment on twin flamery. And that is not why you are still with them. You are still with them because you're afraid to break up with them, because you're afraid you'll never experience heightened, romantic, amazing connection like this again. And the truth is you probably won't. But what you need to understand about that level of heightened intensity is it's not sustainable anyway. It's there as a kind of oppositional contrast energy to teach you about what has sustainability in three-dimensional reality and what flames out like a shooting star. A shooting star is a beautiful thing to see in the sky from time to time. Oh my God, it's so bright and beautiful and now it's gone. That is karmic relationships. They come in and they're incredible and it's amazing and then they're done. Karma. That doesn't mean you shouldn't experience it. It means that it's gonna end though if you're making choices that are healthy for you. Now, when it ends, you either will have learned the lesson that it was there to teach, or the series of lessons it was there to teach, or you won't. That's up to you. Twin flamery is a different thing. Twin flames are soul. This is like an energy I can understand, and now I'm trying to put words on it. Can you put words for me on this? Okay, so when a being comes straight from the realm of God, it has a certain frequency. When a being meets another being of that same frequency, that's a twin flame. You're of the same ray of light. You're of the same frequency, and you recognize each other in a very deep way. You grok them. Another term that humans give this is soulmate. Like when you meet someone and you just grok each other on all levels, soulmate, twin flame, etc. Now, is there a difference between the two? No, not really. The problem is human beings like to romanticize these things and turn it into all kinds of things that it's not. One thing you'll know about a twin flame when it's happening, or a soulmate when it's happening, is it's a little bit not as exciting as you might think it would be. It's very wonderful. It's nurturing. It excites you, but you also feel very comfortable and relaxed inside of it. Your Teal Swan says this quite well. She says, you should feel a deep exhale when you're with the person that's correct for you. You won't feel the inhale of excitement and anxiety. How's it going to go? How's it going to go? What's going to happen? You'll feel, this feels so comfortable and good. Notice when you're on a roller coaster, you inhale, oh my God, and you're all over the place. And then it's over. That's karma. That's up, down. That's drama. That's you working through something. Your twin flame will feel like a lovely ride down a comfortable river.
The lazy river instead of the roller coaster.
In a raft that is well fortified against the elements, but that also lets you feel the breeze on your face. I mean, and so it is. What else you got?
That's it for that one. Now we have two. I'm going to follow up with that one, though, with the next individual question.
Okay.
Because it's about finding love. So it's good transition.
Go ahead.
All right. This is a bleep warning. Bleep this name, please. Asks, I'd like to ask an anonymous question about bringing love into my life. What is holding me back from having an intimate relationship with a man? What steps should I take to move forward?
Okay. All right. I'm deepening into the Akashic records of the individuated soul. Could you say the question once more?
I would like to ask an anonymous question about bringing love into my life. In the present moment, what is holding me back from having an intimate relationship with a man? What steps should I take to move forward?
Is anything holding... I'm going to have to say their name a few times, so I'm sorry, Desmond. You might have to bleep this a few times. From bringing a romantic, is there anything holding her back from it? No. Okay, so how would you frame, what does she need to do? No. Is this a timing? It's timing. So you're a 6'2". They just gave me the whole fucking picture. What a trip. I've looked at her chart before and I did not remember that they just gave it to me. You're a 6'2". The 6'2", for the 6'2", it is soulmate or nothing. Soulmate or nothing. So nothing will satisfy you. And this is not a punishment from consciousness or from God or something. This is such a gift, but it can be very hard for the 6'2" to understand this initially, until you have the wisdom to understand how beautiful and what a valuable gift it is. You are too rich, deep, complex, and here to bring something from the beyond to this realm. You are too beyond for a mundane love that isn't of the soulmate level. People that are not 6'2s can be in relationships where, they don't have this, but they do have that, and it works really great, and I just let go of that, and that's not a big deal, but at least we have this. And that is correct for a lot of people, because what a lot of people are here on Earth to be and do and explore is just love and practicing love and how to love each other and connect and love. The 6'2 is a different animal. The 6'2 is pulling the collective forward into consciousness. You're the, I hate to break it, Buddha on the hill. I hate to break it to you. So the Buddha on the hill, it's also the hermit role model. So you're, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you frame it, your life path is about becoming that Buddhahood. Doesn't mean your job will look like that or you're going to be a healer necessarily. It means who you are inside of yourself is the Buddhahood. It's the being who comes to enlightened awareness of the beauty of all suffering. That's the potential of the 6'2". Enlightened awareness of the beauty of all suffering, which is to say, once you've really, really mastered yourself as a 6'2", you're a pretty evolved being to whom people will look up, to whom people will come for answers, guidance, direction. But you have to be willing. Well, we should say the 6'2" that is not willing to show up for its highest self and its role and function in reality can't meet its romantic partner, because the romantic partner will be a mirror of this Buddhahood. So until you step into the Buddhahood, you can't see that who your partner is. You can't see, they can't show up. You can't reflect something that you're not being. So the answer to this question for you is do your work, unfortunately. More. Dissolve the polarities within. Face what you're afraid of. In your case, has to do with money, empowerment, fulfillment, doing the right work for you, living in the right place for yourself. Like hone in on really, really processing your stuff. There's stuff here about your mom, not so much the dad, but about the mom. There are certain resistances you have to reality still that are really resistances to her, which is very normal when you had a mom like you had. So this is a time to do your work around your mom stuff and understand where she was incorrect in her treatment of you, where she was wrong, where she was abusive. Understand correctly where are the boundaries necessary. Understand correctly where was it you? Where did you behave incorrectly? What is your part? What is her part? Learn the subtleties of this. Process all the rage and the hurt. And this will deepen you into your Buddhahood, which then draws to you the correct partner for you. The challenge for you is, how do we say? There's been a long period where you went to sleep a bit and you're sort of doing all of the work of the middle third. Remember, the 6'2" has a tripartite life. That middle third is getting extended for you because some of that middle section you went to sleep, which is understandable. You were just trying to survive. But now you're awake and there's no more sleeping that's going to help you. No more sleeping. face it all, one piece at a time, which you're doing. So keep going. If you need a place to focus, mom stuff, one piece at a time. Write it all down. I hate her for this. I'm sad about this. She never should have done this. Another thing that you struggle with sometimes, this is what they're showing me, is you don't want to frame what happened with her in a brutally honest way, but you have to. If you're trying to have a spiritual perspective on it, you can't get real with yourself about how you actually felt. We've discussed this before. I know you know what I mean. So just continue to break it down piece by piece with her, with the stuff with her, and work that through. And then you'll be surprised how the twin flame, as we were just discussing, shows up. And they want me to say, it's like, there's nothing wrong with you that has to get unwrong for a person to show up. It's more, you have to be who you're here to be. You are meant to live a much more conscious, evolved reality than most people. You will feel outside of most realities in this world. That is correct for you. Sometimes you try to get into life and be like the other fish, but you're a dolphin and you got to get okay with being a dolphin. Everywhere you're not okay with it, not that you spiritualize it and just tell yourself, okay, I'm okay with it. But you have to process through the edges you have around being very different. And then you'll fall in love with being very different, being a leader, being a hermit role model. And that will pull to you the moon to your sun. Another thing about this for everybody listening is, this is not about you have to get better and healthier and righter and less wrong for your person to show up. That's not what this is. It's about you have to be who you are. And it takes a 6-2 a long time to become who they are, because who they are and who they're meant to live as has everything to do with wisdom, integration, and a transcendent awareness of what reality really is that brings you to a whole lot of peace and joy, even in the midst of suffering. That takes a fucking lifetime. So don't be surprised if it comes to you a lot later than it does to the average human mammal. And so it is. That phrase is so prevalent today. They're just anchoring everything with that energy. Okay.
We have one more question that I think will be a pretty quick one-ish, but I have to pee. So I have to pull a Katie.
Okay, I'm gonna close and lock the records while you do that.
And we're back.
All right, I closed her records. Who's next?
All right. And our next one is also a records one. The person's name is Carly Mara.
Okay. All right. Okay, what was the question here?
It's about her vomiting phobia.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
For my whole life, I've had a nausea and vomiting phobia. At times it has been crippling, and at other times not so much, but it's always been here. I'd love to know what the record keepers say about that, and how can I move through it?
Okay. So, Carly Mara, the vomiting phobia. It's interesting. All right. Well, this one is super past life-y and karma-y. This is about karma and past life stuff. This is very challenging way to frame this. So stay with me on this. But they say you don't have a vomiting phobia. You have a dying phobia, because you died while vomiting in another time and place. All right, so we're calling up into conscious awareness right now. This is just getting worked through as we sit here. The lifetime or times where Carly Mara died from choking while vomiting. We're asking for that to be brought to present time now. We're asking for it to be completed and processed and healed and finished. Oh, my goodness. Cassidy, will you do me a favor? They're giving me this. Will you send me the emails of all 4 people whose questions we responded to? Because I'm going to email them and tell them we responded.
Yes.
So they can know what happened here. Okay. Oh, my goodness. If you're listening to this, Carly, just feel it to your heart, your spinal column, your belly, your brainstem. This is a repetitive problem or I should say, this has shown up in this form in this lifetime so acutely because it is the manifestation of a web of different energies that have to do with dying while choking, killing people by choking them, just like a bunch of past life stuff and karmic stuff. that came to a head in the form of this particular challenge so that you could deepen your, well, first of all, so you could clear it and be free of all the karma and all the past life stuff, and also complete that karma for the sake of consciousness, and also, or I should say the collective of humanity, and also to deepen your spiritual connection and to awaken you on the spiritual path more fully. You probably wouldn't be asking us this question had you been able to treat this in any traditional form. So this is part of your path, understanding and experiencing directly for yourself how the energy work of bringing conscious awareness to these past life energies is the thing that transmutes it, activates and heightens your faith in consciousness itself. All right, is there more to clear here for her for this? No. All right, so we're asking for all the places and spaces in Carly Mara's consciousness to be that were dissipated, released, dissolved, brought up, activated, processed on this topic, past life karma around vomiting and fear of dying, choking from vomiting, be filled in with the highest and best frequencies of light and Akashic blueprinting that she can now hold. And so it is. So if it continues, I'd say let's book a session for you so we could clear anything else that's up around that. Carly, thank you for the question. What else?
That is it. We got them all.
I'm going to close her records real quick. See, return all of Carly Mara's energy to herself, return her complete human wholeness. The divine portal, the Akashic records of Carly Mara are now closed. Amen. Thank you, Squeezel. The divine portal, the Akashic records of Carly Mara are now closed. Amen. The divine portal, the Akashic records of Carly Mara are now closed. Amen, amen, amen. Shadu an la ilaha illallah, shadu anna Muhammad abduhu rasulullah. Squeezel's so amazing. As soon as I start closing the record, she's like, oh, we're done. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and head out. She knows that's the end of a session usually. So she's like, whew. All right, let's run around, chew some stuff like a dog would. So funny.
So interesting.
That was fun.
I think you received a message from me because I was sitting there thinking, I don't usually let people know that we've done their questions. I should send and I should respond to all of them.
That seems like a good idea.
And right as I thought that, you were like, will you send me your emails? Like,
that's cool. Well, consciousness, like we said with Charlie's question, it's one field. So if you're aware of what's happening in the field.
It was, but you said like, consciousness is asking for this, but it was almost like, yeah, it's like, oh, you're saying a thing. You should say it to her. It just like kind of passed me over to you. It just amplified my voice.
I love it. Well, it's actually what it is it's consciousness's voice through you.
Got it. We were both thinking the thought. Our egos were each thinking the thought.
I wasn't thinking anything. I just got the hit.
Right. Cool. Well, that was good. Cleaned up our mailbag.
All right. Well, that was great shit. Thanks for bringing all that. I'm so glad we did that.
That's great stuff.
All right. I guess we'll all continue to do our work.
Yeah. I got nothing deep or meaningful to say except thank you. That was a good. I enjoyed that.
Oh, good.
We made our way through a lot of topics and learned about, the death thing was interesting. I just gotta check in on that. Like that was the fear was around death, not around puking. That was interesting. I'm just going to describe to the listeners what I'm seeing just through a tiny crack in the door. Squeezel just poking her head in going, now? Hello? Hi?
Yeah, we're done. We finished that.
And she's adorable. And what a way to start your day. All right. Have an awesome day. I'll see you tomorrow.
Love you. Bye.
What are you asking for? All of the answers? Say what? All of the answers? Yeah, all the answers.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. We'd love to hear from you. Please email us with your questions so that we have questions to answer in the Akashic Records. Our email address is allanswerspod@gmail.com. That's allanswerspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to find us on Facebook or Twitter, it's @allanswerspod, @allanswerspod. Thank you.
Desmond, we just did a lot of things. When you're listening to this, please let me know if this is terrible for you because...
Mixed and edited by Desmond McNeese for We Mixed It, LLC. Go to whatsoundsawesome.com. Woo! Ooh.